My name is Dr. Erica Liggins, licensed clinical psychologist and EPPP coach. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this recording today. As a family member, your support during this process is valuable. So I'm going to be teaching you a little bit about what the EPPP consists of, along with things to make sure that you avoid while trying to help your loved one through this process, and ways that you can be helpful. Stay tuned. The EPPP is a licensing exam that is required for all psychologists in order to be able to practice freely in whatever state or territory they live in. This test consists of 2 parts, and each part has about 200 multiple choice questions. It takes about 8 hours to complete both part 1 and 2 if the test taker does not have time accommodations. If they do have accommodations, they will be given a bit more time to complete the exam. One of the things that makes this test so challenging is that it features a lot of content that they've never seen before, and the questions tend to be written in really strange ways. As a result, most test takers report that they literally feel like they're failing the entire time, or at best, they don't know how they're doing. So I want you to imagine for a moment what that would feel like to be in a testing environment for about 8 hours and to literally feel like you're failing or having no idea how you're doing. It is extremely stressful to take this exam, and the preparation for it is just as overwhelming. The test covers approximately 11 different content areas, so basically it feels like the test taker is taking 11 classes at the same time. And because it's so much information, it takes on average about 3 to 6 months to prepare for it, and they have to study an average of about 15 to 20 hours per week. So studying for this exam really feels like you're taking on a really boring, overwhelming, tedious, and stressful part-time job. And to make matters worse, test takers are already so exhausted from spending so many years in school trying to get their degree. And to just add a little more insult to injury, everything about this exam is extremely expensive. There are a lot of fees that are involved with it, from the actual exam itself, both parts of it, to the testing materials, as well as other fees that they have to pay to the state in order to be able to get their license. And to make matters even more complicated, when you are unlicensed, the access you have to good paying jobs is extremely limited. So most test takers are working with limited financial resources while having to balance this expensive test and all of the costs involved with it. So I hope this gives you an idea of what they're up against and how hard this exam really is. Now that you're aware of what the EPPP is all about, I want to make sure that you're aware of things to avoid doing while trying to provide support during this journey. First of all, minimizing how hard the test is by saying things like, "Oh, you're stressing too much. It's just another test," or "You're smart, you'll figure it out," really isn't helpful. Although we mean for it to be helpful, oftentimes test takers are left feeling really invalidated and unsupported. Also, if you say things like, "What's wrong? Why can't you get it together? Why haven't you passed this thing yet?" Although we might be trying to speak from a place of concern, a lot of times things like that comes across as like we're trying to criticize them, which just leaves them feeling even more defeated. Next, if you have a license in this field or another field, sometimes we might try to compare our experiences by sharing, "Oh, it was easy for me to pass, you'll be fine," or "Well, I did it, why can't you?" When we compare our experiences, again, that makes people feel more pressured, and it makes them feel bad if they've had trouble and you haven't. So that's something we definitely want to avoid. Also, Asking them for their exact test date or sharing that date with others if they have shared the date with you is another thing that we want to make sure that we don't do. I strongly encourage my coaching clients to tell as few people as possible what the actual test date is, because many people find that receiving a lot of phone calls and messages around their test date, even if they're messages of good luck, still can make them feel really, really, really pressured. And if they unfortunately fail, many people have told me that they were felt like really embarrassed or ashamed to have to go back and tell all these people that they had failed their exam. And this is because they really care about what you think of them. And I encourage you not to underestimate how much your opinion of them really matters. I have heard from countless test takers that what hurt them the most about failing wasn't even necessarily that they failed, but for many, feeling that they had let their loved ones down was one of the hardest things. So please don't underestimate how much your opinion matters. And lastly, I want to make sure that you don't assume that you know how to best motivate them. Everyone gets motivated in different ways. For example, you might like a little tough love or someone really staying on top of you and holding you accountable. But your loved one might actually find that to be rather not supportive or make them feel even more pressured or overwhelmed. So now that you have a better understanding of what not to do, I want to share with you how you actually can be most helpful. However, if you're listening to this and you thought to yourself, oh no, I think I've made some mistakes and maybe I've said things that could have come across in an unhelpful way, please don't worry. Like the old saying goes, when we know better, we do better. And all you have to do is go to the test taker and let them know, hey, I didn't realize that maybe some of the ways I was trying to be helpful before may not have been helpful, but I have a better understanding now, and I really want to support you in the best ways that I can moving forward. Now that you have a better understanding of what the EPPP is all about, it's time to start learning more about how you can provide support during this process. So first of all, please be understanding that your relationship dynamics will change during this time. You might be used to talking on the phone a couple times a week or having long conversations or perhaps getting together regularly, but that will need to change because of how demanding their study schedule is. So for example, you may notice that they're unable to talk on the phone as often or they keep conversations very short. Also, when it comes to getting together for family events and parties, you may notice that they have to skip some at times, or if they do come, they come for a short amount of time and then they have to leave so that they can get back to studying. Also, if you're used to being able to pop over to each other's homes unannounced, that will also need to change as well, because if you come over unannounced, then you might accidentally interrupt them during their study time. So I know this is difficult. Of course, we love spending time with our loved ones, but remember, this is all temporary, and as soon as they pass the test, then life will go back to normal and they'll have more time and you can resume things as you're used to having it. But please just be understanding that they're not trying to ignore you, and it's not that they don't care about you. It's just that this is how much this process really does demand from them. The next thing I want to talk about is a bit delicate, so I want to be as gentle as possible. Now, people in the field of psychology are known for having really big hearts. They love to help their families, their friends, and their communities, which is a beautiful thing. However, because of the demand of studying and trying to balance that with everything else, a lot of times they find it really difficult to manage it all. But they don't want to say to their family members or loved ones that they're struggling to provide support because they don't want to hurt them, they don't want to disappoint them, and they don't want their loved ones to go without what they need. So a lot of times they'll fall into one of two categories. Either they will just kind of let studying go by the wayside. They won't keep up with their hours. they really won't put a lot of time and energy into it, which of course we know will just set them up to fail or set them up to keep delaying taking the test. Or for others, they will push through, they will help everyone and do everything else for work and whatnot, and they will find the hours to study, but they will do so by sacrificing sleep and other basic self-care like exercise, rest, relaxation, as well as eating. I talk to so many coaching clients who eat standing up. They're always on the go. They don't even sit down and have proper meals, or they sleep sometimes as little as 4 hours a night because they're so busy trying to hold all the balls in the air. So if you're used to receiving support from them, whether that be emotionally, financially, or maybe they help you with different tasks, please consider, while they're studying for the exam, finding other ways to get your needs met or asking support from other people. And I encourage you to have a discussion about this with the test taker. Put your minds together, brainstorm. But I need you to start this conversation because they may not have the conversation, again, because they don't want to hurt you and they don't want to disappoint you. So I hope that that makes sense. Again, this is a very delicate thing, but it's really important that I mentioned it because I've come across so many people who have failed the test over and over and over again, and they have therefore spent thousands of dollars, and some even have lost jobs because of not being able to get licensed because, again, they're so busy helping everyone else that they're not making time for this really important thing. All right, so let's move on to some other things that could be helpful. And that is making sure that you know their study schedule. Please ask them for that so that way you don't mistakenly interrupt them. Another thing that you can do is provide emotional support through verbal encouragement, hugs, written notes, or even if you're people of faith, you can pray for them and they would love that support. But keep in mind, everyone is different, so certain types of encouragement and support feel good for one person and not for the other. So everyone's an individual. Lastly, anything that we can do to help them to reduce their responsibilities is a game changer. So if you live close by and you have extra time, let's say you like to cook up double and let them know they can swing by and get the leftovers, or you can drop it off. Also, if you are okay maybe with helping out with some of their house cleaning or offering to do their laundry for them, that is something that has been a game changer for people before. Or if they have children, offering to babysit, help out with their kids, that's really helpful too. But let's say you live far away, or maybe you just don't have the time to be able to give. If you have a little bit of cash to spare, if you go on back to the website, you'll see under step 2 of ways that you can help. If you hit the give button, you'll be directed to different gift cards that you can give. So you can get ones for meal delivery, or you can get general gift cards that they can use for whatever, house cleaning services, to pay a babysitter, what have you. You'll see all sorts of different types of gift cards and gift certificates that could be of help. And remember, a little bit goes a long way. Even if you may not have, a lot to give, whatever you give will be so appreciated. And also, if you can encourage them to share this link, this website link, with other friends or family members, then also we can drum up more support, and everyone giving a little bit can really add up. I mean, you could even encourage them to allow you to set up a GoFundMe page on their behalf to help them to raise all the money that they need for the test and the fees and coaching services and everything. So remember, there's power in numbers. Give what you can, and it will be greatly appreciated. Now, the last thing I want you to keep in mind is that before you do anything outside of just buying the gift cards, most people love that. It's a very fun surprise to just get that in their email box or to have it show up in the mail. But if you're going to do other things, like you're trying to set up a GoFundMe, or maybe, of course, if you need to coordinate helping them with their kids, or you're trying to figure out how to provide emotional support that will resonate with them, that's why having that brief conversation or meeting is really important, because you can check in and make sure that you are providing support in the ways that they really need it. I would like to take a moment to say thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this recording. Your support during this process is absolutely pivotal, and it is much appreciated. So thank you, thank you, thank you.